Today we have a crazy entitled parent freaking out over a name change. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, I would like to share my story so I can feel less empty and alone. Words of encouragement can help. Hello, how are you? I'm writing here because honestly, I don't know what else to do. I feel like writing my story will help me feel a little bit better, and maybe you can give me words of advice or encouragement. My mother was always abusive. When I was little, she once hit me hard in the face because she didn't like something I said. She has this habit of belittling you, humiliating you, and controlling you. She is very controlling of what I do, doesn't let me do some things, but she doesn't know she does it. She thinks she's right and that you should just suck it up. She always tells me she loves me and wants the best for me, but she isn't helpful. Once, she threatened to end things if I didn't call my dad. They were broken up at the time. She would lock herself up in the bathroom to pretend she was overdosing on pills and me and my sister were desperate, calling 911. My mom had various episodes like that, throwing tantrums on the street to prevent my dad from leaving her, and it was threatening to her life. To be honest, it was quite scary. Very scary. The kind of thing that traumatizes you. My dad is an enabler. He never protects me from my mother's verbal abuse. He is a victim of it himself. He now suffers from anxiety. When I was little and in school, my friends weren't nice to me. I had a best friend that once admitted to me that she was jealous of me and my family, and my house, and then she cut her wrists to show me she cared. I had to stay away. Also, the other classmates would bully me, calling me immature. I never did anything wrong. I was always cool with people and nice, but I think people take advantage of that. I suffered from bullying, and when I changed school, my old classmates posted my phone number on a dating website on my town. They posted my phone number and also that I offered services, like saying I was a prostitute. I had an appendectomy before changing school and nobody came to visit me. I was 13 at the time, I think. I changed school and I made new friends there, but sadly my new best friend disappointed me. I discovered on her Twitter account that she basically hated me. She knows my house, of course, because she visited me. She was my best friend, so I found the tweets repulsive. She would post that she thinks people with a pool in their house think they're better than everybody else. And also, if you have an air conditioner in your house, of course you're going to like summertime, because you have the air conditioner to provide a cold temperature, and that you think you're better than people. I'm not from the US, but I'd love to be, and she knows I'm a USA fan. She posted that people that want to move there are idiots. She was jealous of me. When I went to uni, my only sister moved away to another continent. She moved a few years ago and I miss her every day. I felt like a part of me was gone. I would always meet with her friends when there were parties, but when she was gone, I never saw them again. She was the glue that kept me and her friends together and hanging out. The bad part about the fact that she left is that my mom was abusive towards her. She once told my sister that it would be a disgrace if she had children there. And anytime my sister would come to visit us, my mom would start screaming that she misses her, but she would get violent and abusive. She never hit her, but she was violent in the way she yelled and spoke. My dad would join her and not defend my sister, but defend my mom. Once, my dad ended up in the hospital due to blood pressure, and my mom ended up falling to the floor to add some drama. She is mentally ill. My sister once told me she's afraid of being a mom because she doesn't want to be like our mom. Every time my mother and sister do a video call, they end up fighting. Not because of anything my sister says or does, but because of my mother's harsh remarks and comments. It's like she's always looking for a fight. I'm getting tired of this and it saddens me so much that they don't get along. 2 years after she, my sister, moved, my uncles and cousins moved to another continent too. It was very hard for me because I had such a strong connection to my little cousins. I loved them so much and they loved me too. I felt like another part of me was gone. They sold their house of a lifetime to move away. And I have plenty of memories in that house. I basically grew up there along with my little cousins. A year after, during COVID, I lost my grandpa. And then the next year, I lost another one to cancer. Back in 2018, when there was no pandemic, I also lost my grandma. It was like the starting point to all the losses. I only have one grandma left out of everyone. I'm 25 years old. And when I lost the one to cancer, that was also the same time my ex left me. It was very hard dealing with two losses at the same time. My ex was going away to another continent for an exchange program. See? Everyone was moving away. He was going to leave for 6 months and I couldn't stand another loss. I left crying from his farewell party and I got drunk because I'd seen my grandpa being taken away and consumed by cancer just 7 days prior to that farewell party and my ex leaving. Also, my ex didn't talk to me during the party. He was talking to his friends and I told him that. He understood, but when I told him that my parents grounded me for being drunk, he hated me and told me I was a little kid. He wanted me to go have dinner to his house 3 days before he would leave, and I couldn't go. I wasn't allowed to. He told me my parents didn't actually care about me, and that if I didn't escape my house and defy them, then that meant I never really loved him or cared about him. So then he asked for a break. During his time away, he posted photos being affectionate with other women, and I had to see it. This wasn't the first time he was mean to me. I remember once he wanted me to send him inappropriate photos or hot photos. When I said no, he said that it meant going backwards in our relationship or taking one step back. Because we did hook up and sending photos means much less than hooking up. He was manipulating me. I remember the first times we started dating and texting. He would reply maybe a day later, and I remember I had to remind him of our dates because he's just so hands off when it comes to communicating. I was the one asking him specifically twice, "What are we?" And he would be like, "I don't believe in labels." But when I told him I did believe in labels, he compromised and we were boyfriend and girlfriend, but it lasted 1 month because he left and asked for the break. He mentioned the break before, stating that his brother always takes breaks with his girlfriend when he goes away on trips, and that when he comes back, they see where they're at and maybe they get back together. I remember the moment I found out about his trip. We were going to the same singing teacher. When I came to my class, the teacher said to me, "Did he tell you about his trip?" Turns out he had told our teacher before me. There are a lot of things like this that I won't mention here because the post would get infinitely long. Disrespects, shady attitudes, and not to mention his activities with drugs. After him talking crap about my family and dumping me because my problems were way too big for him, I wanted to disappear. I was vulnerable to the wrong person. I had told him that my mom, yes, she maybe mistreats me, and that my parents were very mean to me at that time, and that I wanted to leave. I remember sending him voice messages crying and being like, "Of course I want to see you, I'm grounded, I can't. Don't be mad at me, don't think that I don't love you." But he still insisted that I didn't care and that he was going to dump me. His best friend unfollowed me on social media and he talked about my family to his family. He didn't want to reveal what his family thought or said about mine, so I felt humiliated to the core. He told me he dumped me because my family problems were too much for him and that I wasn't independent enough because my mom is controlling of what I do. And that's why he left. As I'm writing this, I can see how strong I am to face my reality and to put it into words and to share it with you. If you've read this far, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Even though I can share my story, it doesn't mean it isn't heavy. I try every day to wake up with hopes. I am happy. I recognize that while dating my ex, I felt anxious, I had social anxiety, and maybe he could see that, but I can't feel ashamed of that. It's part of my growth. Now, thank God I'm better and don't have the symptoms I used to have. I guess I held on to my ex because I feel alone. I suffered from way too many losses and I also wanted to have a partner to be with me. Because I can't comprehend why I would want to be with someone that has a hands-off approach and style of communication. Why? Why settle for someone that wasn't sure about what he wanted? He even once told me he felt like he wanted to slap me in the face while we were hooking up. Right now, I'm trying to put the pieces of my self-esteem back together. It's a struggle. Some days I even think that it would be amazing and pain-free to not be around. Sometimes I think about my ex being happy with some other girl. I should also add that my family doesn't talk to me. My cousins are too bothered making money and some of them are jealous of me. They don't send a message to see how I'm doing or anything. I only see them at birthdays and holidays or when my sister comes to visit. That's when I see them. Otherwise, they don't even bother to send anything, including uncles and aunts. They don't come to visit me. Honestly, with an ex that terrible, I'm sad to see OP actually still puts any stock into what they're doing these days. I know it's not just that easy to just forget about somebody, but when they're that much of a just total craphead, it just hurts to see somebody so hung up over such a jerk. OK Imagination 1107 wrote, "Save up some money, make a plan, move out, whether it's to another town or another continent. It is possible to survive awful parents and bad things in your life like that, but a fresh start is probably what you really need. Leave behind anybody who's been cruel or abusive to you, put them in your rearview mirror, and don't look back. A fresh start in life, a new place to live, a new job, these are all things that are going to help you heal and have a happy life. I wish you well." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, what mental disorders do you think my mother had? After posting about my mother's comment, I started to remember concerning stuff. I posted about my mother saying no one wanted me at a birthday party because I wasn't popular. Well, after reading so many comments, I started to realize and remember a lot about my mother. For a long time, that memory was the main one I could remember about her. But I've started breaking down, remembering some of the worst stuff she's done, and the idea that there could be worse I don't remember or can't. I made a list because I think it can help me to remember. For a long time, I just thought I didn't have a good memory, but I just didn't want to. I remember being a kid, and she kept having me pee in cups. I asked my dad a few days ago if I had doctor issues or something, and he said he was always the one to take me to the doctor if I needed because his job gave him better pay leave. After I told my dad this memory, he got a horrible sick look. Apparently, my mom had joked to him when I was 5 that she could make extra money by selling my pee. One memory that makes me sick is when she used to fill up the bathtub and hold me for hours crying, saying, "I'm going to save you from this world." I think she was planning on drowning me. When I was young, she used to say I was the reincarnated Jesus and she believed I could walk on water if I tried hard enough. She stole my Nintendo DS I managed to save up for and pawned it. I looked for that thing for years, and every time I asked her about it, she would say, "Maybe you should clean your room and you might find it." One memory that sickens me is when she drove me to a motel she and some stranger hooked up in the room, with me on the couch in the room. After my mom fell asleep, the man came over and sat on the couch with me, still fully in the buff. I don't remember anything other than when we left the motel, my mom was crying. I asked my dad if he knew, and he said he knew she was cheating, but didn't know she always took me with her. I have snippets of other memories pop up of other motels and men, but this one was the most vivid. The man's name was Doc. He lived around North Texas. She used to have my sister and I physically fight each other for her entertainment, just like gladiator combat. My sister had my fingernails still in her arms when we were at our mother's funeral. I still feel so guilty for how I treated her. I was younger than her and I saw her as the enemy for years. My mother used to have me ask her for water, and if I annoyed her, she would deny my request. I still have issues with remembering to drink water. My teacher told her she thought I had ADHD. My mom responded by taking me home and locking me in a dark closet for a few hours. She let me out before my dad came home. My mom made it clear I wasn't to tell anyone anything about her. I wasn't taught to wash myself or brush my hair. I don't know how teachers didn't call CPS. I smelled and looked awful. I also wore the same clothes to school almost daily. The one case where CPS was called was when the school nurse thought I wasn't being brought to the doctor. I told the caseworker I was scared of what my mom would do to me because of her coming to my house. She told my mom she knew this case wasn't serious and she wasn't going to really investigate. My house growing up looked like one from the show Hoarders. I had to wade through garbage, laundry, and organic waste up to my waist to get out of the door. After CPS was called, she pulled me out of school and into K-12, or as I think of it, the worst 2 years of my life. She had me take care of her cleaning and cooking. She also had me give her insulin and would smack me if it hurt her. When I lost my first tooth, she had grabbed me by the hair for the whole movie, watch this horror movie about some demon tooth fairy who kills kids for their teeth but can't go in the light. I don't know the name of the movie. I slept with the lights on for 10 years. When the light bulb burned out, I sobbed and had to figure out for myself how to change it or live in the dark. I was too short to reach the bulb. I realized after all this, she was a sadistic, sociopathic woman. Yet I loved her more than life. Honestly, hearing all this, it just makes me hope OP's getting some professional therapy, some help. Especially when doing these Reddit posts is causing them to relive all of the stuff that they seem to have compartmentalized. Realistic Noise 2 wrote, "I'm so sorry to say this, but I think your mother not only was narcissistic, but I also believe she had some sort of sociopathic or sadistic tendencies. The way that you described and also what you've described in your previous post about no one wanting you on your birthday seems that she just wanted to inflict as much pain on you as possible and enjoy it. I wish I knew the psychology of why, but it sounds like now that she's passed, it seems like now's a good time to try to talk to relatives and the other people that she might have known to ask about what's going on. When you mentioned also that your father couldn't believe anything either, he knew and didn't want to say anything, or he's in straight denial because of what you posted here in the last post, nobody can be that clueless. So I would say that I hope you can get help, or at least move on, because I'm sorry to say she just sounds pure evil. Our next story is My Mom Sucks. So I found out I was pregnant in mid-January. Happy news. I told my parents at the end of January, and I asked they not share the news yet, as I was only 6 weeks pregnant at the time. That same day, she messaged a friend or probably two and told them my news. I asked her why she did that, and she said, friend, won't tell anybody. Okay, I get it. She's excited for her first grandchild. I let it slide. At this time, I'm also packing a house for a move to a new state, fixing the house to sell, looking for a new job, interviewing, caring for pets, and continuing my job. 2 or 3 weeks later, my mom posted on Facebook the photo of my ultrasound on her stories. I was so angry at her that when I tried to call her, I couldn't get the words out. She knew about it right when it happened and left it up for 2 hours until I called. Her only response was, I know I messed up. So I'm sobbing in my closet and my husband is there to comfort me, but I am distraught and angry. I can't bring myself to talk to my mom. Well, she just told me she knew she was wrong, so I expected her to remove it. She didn't. My husband messages her the YouTube video of how to remove it, and she doesn't respond. The following morning, it's been up almost 12 hours now, I got a friend to tell me I should just log into her account and take it down myself. My mom wasn't answering calls at that point anymore and not reading messages, so that's exactly what I did. At least predictable in that regard. It took me 1 password attempt and 3 buttons to remove it from her stories, a whole 20 seconds to take it down. Now I'm fuming and I have nothing to say for her for over 2 weeks. Fast forward to my 12 weeks and I have a bleeding scare and have to head to the doctors to check the baby. Of course, I wanted to call my mom to let her know I was needing her support. The call was short. I was anxious. She was happy to hear from me. Now remember, I was able to log into her Facebook account? Well, I also had her messages notifications. So it turns out she messaged at least 5 people, not family, about my issue and asked them to pray for me. Not something I asked her to do, and surprised me she would think of that considering she already knew I was mad at her for sharing my news publicly. My dad wanted to visit to help me pack my house, and mom wanted to come with. So they visited and it was awkward. I tried to talk to her about her posting, but I couldn't find the right words because I was so upset and I confronted her with the wrong things. I asked her why she told so many people about my bleeding and she said, I only told family. A lie. I was so dumbfounded by her lie, I teared up and asked her why. She said, because I thought a prayer circle would help. But I said, I didn't ask you for that. I didn't want anyone knowing anything. Her response was one I've heard her say my whole life, and it's the worst response she could have possibly given me. I'll never do that again. It's her empty solution to everything. Every time she's wronged me as a child, teen, young adult, and now as a mother, she's used that phrase to placate me, shut me up, move on from her mistakes, no real solution. I just walked away from her. I guess bottom line, it's just gonna have to take this time and time again for OP to really get it through their head. They can't rely on this person to keep anything in confidence. You can still have that relationship with them and you can still reach out to them for support, but just know that when you talk to her, you're talking through her into a megaphone to everybody else. Our next story is My Girlfriend's Entitled Mom Freaks Out Over Name Change. Pretty new to Reddit, but I felt someone might get a laugh out of it. This is shared with my girlfriend's permission. My girlfriend has a very rocky relationship with her mom. This is due to a variety of reasons, but one of the major ones is that her mom cursed her with a horribly misspelled name. Something like Hazel Marie, mom's last name. It's not those exact names, but the same type of vibe. 2 classic, beautiful names ruined by her mother's pathological desire to be unique. Her parents weren't together at the time of her birth and she ended up with her mom's last name. This has caused so many problems throughout her life since her dad ended up being her primary parent. And she's told me that she wanted to change it since she started going to school and having to deal with the problems. The only reason she waited until she was an adult is because her mom wouldn't consent to the name change. Anyway, the paperwork recently went through and my girlfriend is now Hazel Marie, dad's last name. She's over the moon about it and I'm so happy for her. The only hiccup has been her mom. We expected her to be more upset that her baby girl is deviating from her mommy's wishes, but we didn't expect she'd explode like she did. My girlfriend told her mom the news and she absolutely blew up. She actually stormed over to our apartment, she lives in the same building as us, it sucks, and banged on the door until my girlfriend reluctantly answered. I advised her not to, but she did it anyway because, and I quote, "It's my mom, let me talk to her." Oh well. My girlfriend's mom barged her way into the apartment and began loudly berating my girlfriend for changing her name. She basically said that my girlfriend threw away the beautiful gift I gave you and said, "You're my daughter, I have the right to name you." She wasn't really even upset about her taking her dad's last name, but she was really upset about her changing the spellings of her first and middle name to the normal spellings. My girlfriend tried to explain about all the problems her name had caused her over the years, but her mom wouldn't let her speak and just kept yelling over her. Eventually I, much taller and stronger than my girlfriend's mom, forcibly kicked her out while calling her a bench and telling her to never come back. My girlfriend and I are now looking at breaking our lease to get away from her. Message from my girlfriend that she wanted me to add, "Please don't give your kids crappy names, no one thinks it's quirky or cute. You look like an idiot and little McKinley probably resents you for it. Do everyone a favor and just spell your kids' names like they're supposed to be. Take it from someone with a crappy name, it sucks butt to deal with. You're naming a human person, not a doll or puppy." I mean, I get innocent enough misspellings, something that's just like uncommon, but when you go out of your way to try to add as many substitutions, oh, this Y can sound like an E or A can sound like something else, and all of a sudden you're spelling McKinley with 13 letters. I mean, if anything, just spare them the trouble of having to write that all out over and over for the rest of their life. Over Marionberry 686 wrote, "Sigh. I don't think parents realize how difficult it is for the kids to grow up with the weird names we're given. I was named 3 very popular boys' names, starting with M and a weird K name, and last name is the third. There was no first or second. The day I turned 18, I changed it. I had been saving up just to make sure I had the money. Thought I actually had to before a judge. I also cut my parents out of my life and didn't talk to them for almost 20 years before they passed." Our next story is my father. A few years ago, I was in an accident, which means I get money from it once I'm 18. I'm now 18 as of a month ago and was expecting a letter letting me know where the money was, but nothing was sent. I expected my mom to help me out with it, but didn't ask because I'm busy. Turns out my dad had been calling up about it without informing me and only just told me because they wanted to speak to me personally, as it is my money. My dad has told me the exact amount I'll put into savings and the exact amount I'll give to him and my mother and my siblings. I'm upset about this as I feel this is something I should make the choice to do. My dad is terrible at saving money and blows it off when he can. For starters, he shouldn't be telling me about saving, and to top it off, he should allow me to make the decision with that money. He didn't share any of his money from his one amongst his immediate family. I was most likely going to do the things he said anyway, but on my free will, not because he said. It just brings me back to how controlling he was over my uni choices, A-levels, my social life, etc. If you've read my previous posts, you know that it's just an added thing to my dad's behavior. He's also got this thing where when he gets angry with me, he says I can't do it my way. It's like he feels as though I can't control my own life and I'm wrong if I don't do it his way. It might seem like a dumb thing to get upset about, but I don't know, it just irritates me every time he says that. To top it off, he's been teaching me how to drive. He's not the best driver there is. He makes me physically shake and I feel so nervous around him. I make a mistake and he gets so visibly angry, I stress out and make more mistakes. I can't communicate with him either as he will never understand my point, and I cannot leave until uni, which my grades aren't where I need to be. I don't even want to do the course I applied for, but I need to leave somehow as I cannot stay another year with him. I feel embarrassed talking to my friends about my personal life, as none of their parents are similar to mine. My dad is the angriest person I know, and unfortunately for me, I'm a very anxious and nervous person who hates conflict. I just feel stuck and depressed in life. I have no relatives to talk to either. I'm so tired. At that point, especially if OP's 18, I'm assuming it's their money to do with as they please? And honestly, I don't know if OP still wants to do what they're kind of suggesting that OP said they would have done of their own free will, or if they want to fully submit to the reverse psychology, hey, you told me to do this, therefore I'm not doing it anymore. Regardless, it's their money. Sad Flatworm 1436 said, "Not the jerk, please make an appointment to see a reputable financial advisor. Do not tell your parents. Please use this money to get yourself into a better life position. Change uni course, move out, pay for driving lessons to gain your independence. Protect your future. It was your accident. The money is to repay you, not your parents or your siblings. Please, independent financial advice, perhaps available through your uni." OP replied, "If I was to speak to a financial advisor, would I just explain to them about my situation? Am I able to do so without them telling my dad? I was wondering if it's possible for the advisor to tell my dad what you've just told me." Sad Flatworm responded, "You are legally an adult, so the financial advisor isn't even allowed to tell your dad anything without your permission. The advisor is there to help you and guide you, and in some ways they'll protect you from the emotional blackmail your father's putting on you." OP then posted, "Father wants me to give him my settlement money. Regarding my last post today, when I'm back, I need to call the court regarding how I'll get money, so I may be receiving it today. I'm just worried about how to tell my dad that I won't be giving any, as it's my money. My mother thinks I should just give him 50 pounds out of it or 100 to shut him up, but I don't even want to do that. I'm 18 now and it's money from my accident. I know he expects even more than that, but I hate the idea of giving him the satisfaction of how controlling my money." So considering they're saying give them 50 pounds or 100 pounds, I'm assuming it's not like a lot of money. Either way, saying no is a complete sentence in this situation, and if OP does not want to give up their money that they got from their accident, they just need to be able to tell their father no. And what are they going to do? Steal your debit card or something? But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.